everyone, and to Ma'am Pinky. So, I am Mario C. Ocanya, the first presenter of Group 4. So, we are tackling about the fundamentals elements of drawing. Learning objectives. First, learn the alphabet of line and use them properly. Second, practice basic lines and shape as the foundation of drawings. Third, differentiate and create orthographic and isometric drawings. Fourth, draw simple pictorial views like isometric, oblique, and perspective. Second to the last, apply shading techniques to make drawings realistic. And the last is use proper lettering that is neat and consistent. So now we are going to define what is fundamental elements of drawings. The fundamental elements of drawings are the core visual component used to create art, including line, shape, form, value, texture, space, and color. These elements act as the building blocks for all visual art and are manipulated by artists to convey meaning, form, and emotion in their work. So in short meaning, the fundamental elements of drawing are the core visual to create an art that we create. So including the line, shape and form, value, texture, pace and color, and etc. So in short, these elements act as a building blocks for all our visual arts and etc. So now I'm going to name the 7 elements of art. So first we have the line, shape, form, space, texture, value, and color. So the first is line. The most basic element, a line is a mark made by a tool or a moving dot, creating edges and outlines. Lines can be thick or thin, straight or curved, and their quality can convey emotion and direction. So, for example, this is the hatching, cross hatching, the scribble like that because it conveys line. Especially hatching. Hatching means convey with lines that it's either vertical, horizontal, or cross. Now, the second one, shapes. A shape is a two-dimensional, are defined by lines or a change in color or value. Made when lines are connected can be geometric or freeform. So, we have the 3 shapes important for this. So, the first is circle, square, and triangle. These are the basic shapes under the fundamentals of drawings. So, other shapes like geometric, organic, and freeform. So geometric is like a shape that have different forms. Let's say oblong, heart, star, or pentagon, octagon, like that. So it's under geometric. Next is organic. Organic is we found our surroundings like a shape of forms of leaves, or it's either a tree, let's say a fruit like apple and flower, and also the shape of animal. So it's under the organic. So next we have the free form. The free form is like doing a scribble or any shape or anything that you can imagine, you can draw. It's next is value. The value or the lightness or darkness of a color or tone which create contrast, define form, and establish the mood of a drawing. So the value is like the shadings or the form of our shadings on our drawing. Like it could be blending or anything that could shape the form of because in shading it's not we are not talking about realistic. We are talking about the value, the how we shape how we lightnesses or darkness our drawing are. Now let's move on to texture. So texture, the surface quality of an object, which can be actual like rough surface or implied create through patterns and details to look rough or smooth. Example of this is the bark of a tree. The bark of the tree, if you touch it, it's like rough. So it's called the texture. It's either of our drawing rough or soft, based on the drawing or based on the art that you make. It also it's include the lines, of course the lines, the blending or the shading that we use to create texture. So the next one is space. Space, the area around between or within objects, which can be positive, the subject, or the negative, the background, and is used to create depth and perspective. So space, it's either the overlap, shading, placement, size or proportion, the perspective, and value and facts. It's giving the reality or realistic and balance of the object that we draw or the drawing. And lastly, color. Color, the property of light that is reflected or emitted, and is one of the most powerful elements for conveying mood, emphasizing parts of a drawing, and creating visual harmony. So the color, basically, it explained or it is the most powerful elements, because without it we cannot show the realistic of our drawing. We cannot only rely on a basic form of shadings or texture. We also rely on the color, because it's one of the most powerful elements that is of the fundamentals of drawings. So for our next topic, the alphabets of lines. So what is alphabet of lines? Alphabet of line is a set of standardized line types in drafting used to convey different elements of a design, such as visible edges, hidden features, centers, dimension, and cut section, ensuring that technical drawing are easy to interpret and to understand. So it means, since we are talking about lines, this is very important for our technical drafting or drafting, because since each type has a specific meaning and purpose to clearly represent the details of an object that we are designing, especially in designing floor plan. So we are now talking about the different types of alphabet lines. So the first one is objective or visible lines, hidden lines, center lines, dimension lines, extension lines, leader lines, cutting plane lines, and the last is section lines. So the first one is the object visible lines. So what is object visible lines? Solid thick lines that represent the visible edges of an object. So it show the thick solid line. What do you mean by thick, or yung gaano kakapal, ganun. So ito ay nagpapakita na o ipinapakita ang mga nakikitang gilid ng bagay or ng object. So next is hidden lines. So hidden lines, dashed lines that show edges or features not visible from the current viewpoint. So it means, as you can see, in my example or the box, it shows like cut lines at the middle or at the edges. So it represents edges or features that are not visible from our current view or from the current view. That's just because it's hidden lines. So, next is center lines. So, thin lines made of alternating long and short dashes that indicate the center of a circle or symmetrical objects. So, it means it shows the thin lines made of alternating or long and short dashes. As you can see, the hidden lines that it have the cut lines. You see the cut lines or the dashes lines. It also represent the center lines. So it means it indicates the center of lines or holes or symmetrical parts. So next is dimension line. Thin or solid lines with arrowhead that each end that indicate the size and location of features. So it means the thin solid with arrow at the both ends. You can see at my object, at my example, I can see, as you can see the line, thin lines that have that arrow that point at them. So it means it shows the measurement or size features. Now next, extension line. Extension lines, thin lines that extend from the object to show the start and end points for dimension lines. So, sa madaling salita, ito ay manipis na guhit na that represent the objects sa dimension line natin. Kasi ang dimension line and extension line are connected lang yan sila dalawa. So, ito rin ay para tukuyin kung aling bahagi ang sinusukat. Same sa dimension line din. It locates or it measures the features or the measurement. So next, the leader lines. Now, leader lines means the lines that connect nodes, dimension, or symbols to a specific part of the drawing. So, ito daw, ang leader lines ay na may guhit o arrow na tumuturo sa isang parte ng drawing. Like, let's say, like a guide. Tinuturo niya kung saan dapat yung mga part ng drawings natin. It should call leader lines. Now, next is cutting plane lines. Thick dashes lines that indicate where action view is taken. So, the cutting plane lines, ito ay isang makapal na guhit na putol-putol. Sabi nga dito, cutting lines, kundi putol-putol siya. So, ito ay nagpapakita kung saan hiniwa ang object upang makita ang loob or yung section view lines. Sa madaling salita, it indicates where a section view is taken. So now, section lines. The last. Thin line used within the boundaries of a section views to show material cut by a plane. So, section plane lines daw, ito ay manipis na guhit na karaniwang diagonal. So, ito ay ginagamit sa loob ng section view para ipakita ang mga materials or the materials. So, that is last for my report. So, in conclusion, alphabets of lines make technical drawing clear, accurate, and easy to interpret. Kumbaga, precise talaga ang gamit or importante talaga ang alphabet of lines. It ensures that engineers, architect, and designer can communicate their idea consistently without confusion. And that's all for my report. So, the next reporter will be Mary Joycel Hongko.
Hey to each and everyone, I'm Mary Joycel Cosme Hongko, and now let's proceed to the basic lines and shape. In drafting, or also known as the technical drawing, lines and shape are the foundations of creating clear, accurate, and standard drawings. Each type of the line and shape has a specific meaning and purpose. so that the drawing can be easily read and understood by anyone. So here are the basic lines in drafting and their examples. So first we have the center line. Thin line made of long and short dashes alternately. Second, dimensional line. Thin line with an arrowheads at both ends. Third, extension line, or also known as the continue line. Thin line that extends from the object to show the limits of a dimension. Fourth, we have the leader line. Thin line with an arrow or dot at one end. Fifth, we have the section line, or also known as the hatching. Thin line, diagonal lines drawn within a cut section. Last but not the least, the Panton line. Thin lines made of long dash and two short dashes. This purpose is to show alternate positions of a part or repeated details. And here are the basic shapes in drafting. So first we have the circle. So circle represents hole, cylinders, arcs, or round fixtures. Second, square or rectangle represents block type of picture. Triangle, used in symbol like weld or datum indicator. So as you can see in the screen, mayroon tayong example ng weld or datum. So this is very commonly used sa mga engineering students. And we have the polygon. Polygon, hexagon, octagon, and so on and so forth. This represents bold or special profiles. The last but not the least again, we have the ellipse or oval. Represents circles, wave at an angle. In summary, lines are the language of drafting. Each type communicates a specific meaning, and shape represents forms of objects and features to make the drawing clear. So to simplify it, here in drafting, lines represent the language and shapes are the objects created by lines. In conclusion, both together ensure accuracy, uniformity, and ease of interpretations in technical drawing.
Good afternoon, Ma'am Pinky. Good afternoon, classmates. Today, I will discuss the orthographic, projection, and isometric drawings. These are important techniques in technical drawing and engineering graphics used to represent objects accurately on paper or on CAD or computer-aided design software. First, we have the introduction. Brief overview of technical drawing, importance in engineering architecture and design, relationship between orthographic and isometric drawings. So, technical drawing is the universal language of engineers, architects, and designers. It helps communicate ideas clearly. We use orthographic projection for precise dimension and isometric drawings for visualization. Example, think about the blueprint of a house. The orthographic view shows the front, side, and top separately, while an isometric drawing shows a 3D view. What is orthographic projection? A method of representing 3D object and 2D views. Used in engineering and architectural drawings, shows multiple views for accuracy. Orthographic projection is a way to represent a 3D object using 2D views. We typically draw three main views. First, front view. In front view is height and width. Top view. In top view views is width and depth. Side view is height and depth. Example, imagine a box on the table. If you look at it from the front, you see a rectangle. That's the front view. From the top, another rectangle, top view. From the side, you can see another rectangle. That's the side view. Next, we have the types of orthographic projection. First angle projection and third angle projection. Include a diagram comparing both. There are two common methods. First angle projection, mostly used in Asia and Europe. Third angle projection, widely used in the US and Canada. Example, if you place an object in the first quadrant, you get a first angle projection. If you place it in the third quadrant, you get a third angle projection. The differences is where the views are placed on the drawing sheet. Next, we have the views in orthographic projection: top view, front view, side view. Visual diagrams showing how these views relate. Orthographic drawings usually include front view, the main shape and details. Top view, layout of surfaces. Right or left side view shows side features. For example, for a Mac, the front view shows its height and handle shape. The top view shows the circular opening and the side view shows thickness. What is isometric drawing? A type of 3D drawing where objects are drawn at that 30-degree angle used to visualize how objects look in reality. Easier for non-technical people to understand. So, isometric drawing represents a 3D object on 2D paper but shows all dimensions at once. Objects are drawn at 30-degree angles. It gives a more realistic view. Example, when you see a furniture catalog, the images are usually isometric so you can visualize how it looks in real life. Next, we have the characteristic of isometric drawing. Axes are 120-degree apart, all dimensions drawn to scale equal for shortening along each axis. Include an example diagram characteristic of isometric drawing. The three axes is X, Y, and Z are 120-degree apart. The measurements are to scale. No perspective distribution parallel lines stay parallel. Example, if you draw a cube, all edges have equal lengths and appear at 30-degree angles from the horizontal. So next we have the applications where these drawings are used. Engineering, architecture, manufacturing, CAD modeling, visual CAD models plus blueprints. So these techniques are used in engineering and architecture, blueprints and construction plans, manufacturing parts and assembly drawings, CAD modeling, 3D designs, product design, furniture, electronics packaging. So in summary, orthographic, multiple 2D views for precision, isometric, single 3D view for visualization. So both are essential for technical communication. Orthographic projection equal 2D accuracy. Isometric drawing equal 3D visualizations. Both are essential in technical drawing. So the references are books, websites, and standards used.
Good day to each and everyone. My name is Angelica A. Narciso, and I am going to report about the pictorial drawing. So, what is a pictorial drawing? A pictorial drawing is an imagine of an object as it would be seen by someone who looks at the object from a selected point of view. A pictorial drawing, either sketch and freehand or made with drawing instrument, are frequently used by engineers and architects to convey ideas to their assistants and clients. A pictorial drawing provides a 3D image to help understand the shape of object or to assist in interpreting a different. So, a pictorial drawing, it shows what an object looks like in a certain angle. It's like you would going to see it in your real life. Then, this drawing can be made by hand or with sketch or drawing tools. Then, these are often used by engineers and architects. Then, it also gives a 3D view of an object, which make it easier to understand its shape and design. So we have three types of pictorial drawing. We have first the isometric, second we have the oblique, and third we have the perspective. So and then what is isometric? Isometric is commonly used method of pictorial drawing. An isometric drawing is a pictorial representation of an object in which all three dimensions are drawn at full scales. The term isometric means equal measurement. Isometric drawings are built on three lines called isometric axes. So, one is drawn vertically and the other two with 30-degree set square either side of it. An isometric drawing is a way of presenting design in three dimensions. They can be completed using the 30 or 60 set square or freehand. So isometric is commonly used type of pictorial drawing. It shows an object in it shows as an object in 3D form. where all sizes are drawn equally. Based na din sa sa PPT natin, isometric means equal measurement. So all the sides of it has an equal measurement. So the isometric this drawing use three main line called isometric axis. So isometric axis yung tawag sa three main line na ginagawa sa isometric. Then, yung isang line, it goes straight up, and the other two lines goes side at 30 degree angle. Isometric drawing can be made using 30 or 60 set square or drawn by freehand. Next, we have the oblique. Oblique projection is a method of drawing object in 3 dimensions. It is quite a simple technique compared to isometric or even perspective drawing. However, to draw accurately in oblique projection, traditional drawing equipment is needed. Just like mga ruler, mga T-square, mga pencil, yun yung mga need natin when we're going to draw an oblique drawing because it has different measurement dito. And then, oblique objections illustrate the general three-dimensional shape of the object. However, only faces of an object parallel to the plane of object projection are shown at their true size and shape. That is, angles and lengths are preserved for these faces only. In fact, the oblique projection of these faces is equivalent to an orthographic front view. So, yung oblique drawing daw is a way of drawing object in a 3D form. Pero it's more easier if isometric drawing yung gamitin natin. Kasi yung oblique drawing kasi, hindi siya same measurement if you're going to draw. To draw oblique projection accurately, you need to use proper drawing materials. Just like yung sinabi ko, yung traditional things natin na ruler or T-square. Oblique drawing shows the overall 3D shape of an object. However, only the front face or the facing, yung naka-face sa inyo, yun yung only na nagpapakita ng real size and shape niya. Yung saan yung naka-face sa inyo yung drawing. This front face looks just like an orthographic front view, while the sides are drawn at an angle to give 3D effect. So, basically, yung mga sides nun is ginagamit siya to make it more real, para may 3D effect siya. We have two types of oblique drawing, oblique projection. First, we have the cavalier projection. Second, we have the cabinet projection. So, the cavalier projection is obtained when the angle between oblique projection and the plane of projection is 45 degrees. In a cavalier projection, the foreshortening factor for all three principal directions are equal. The resulting figure appears to tick yes, while the cabinet projection is used to correct this deficiency. So, yung cavalier projection, it is a type of oblique drawing na kung saan yung angles and line are drawn full length. And then, the angle to the paper is 45 degree. Well, this can only make the object a bit too deep or thick. That's it for the cavalier projection. So, let's move to second, cabinet projection. A cabinet projection is an oblique drawing for which the foreshortening factor for perpendicular to the plane of projection is 1/2 is called a cabinet projection. So, yung cabinet projection, it is a way better version of this. In this type, the angled line are drawn at half their length, na kung saan ginagawa yung drawing to look more realistic. Yes, that's it for the cabinet projection. Kita nyo ba dito sa PPT natin, we have the oblique cavalier and the oblique cabinet. So, yung oblique cavalier, as you can see, meron silang difference wherein yung oblique cavalier is may pagka yung length niya is parang mas pataas siya kaysa sa oblique. Kasi difference, magkaiba kasi yung sizes dito sa oblique cavalier kaysa dito sa cabinet cavalier. Oblique cavalier. Next, we have the perspective drawing. A perspective drawing is one of the best way to show a pictorial view of an object. It creates a 3D image that look very close to what the human sees. And a common use of perspective drawing is an architecture, where it helps shows the client of the public what a building or project will be look like when it is finished. So yung perspective drawing daw, it is a great way to show object in a 3D form wherein it looks very close kung paano nakikita ng mga humans, ng mga tao yung perspective drawing. Yes, kung paano nakikita in real life. And then it is often used of mga architecture wherein pinapakita nila yung mga ginawa nilang designs in a perspective. So yun nga yung pinapakita nilang design in a perspective way. Three type of perspective drawing. We have the 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective, and 3-point perspective. So sa nakikita nyo sa picture, one line lang talaga siya. It uses one vanishing point. Wherein yung line, it goes toward 1 point on a horizon. Then it is often used when looking straight at the front of an angle or of an object. So it is best for drawing with one flat side facing you. And then the 2-point perspective, it uses two vanishing points. Wherein yung lines, it goes forward or toward 2 point on the horizon. So it uses when looking at the corner of an object, like sa example, nasa gitna ka ng building wherein yung ganto yung building, may ganto siya. Dito ka sa gitna. Ay, hindi, lang to. May ganto ka, tapos dito ka sa gitna. Di ba yung view mo, nakatingin ka ng ganyan. Makikita mo yung dito side and nasa dito side. And then, yung 3-point perspective naman, it uses 3 vanishing point, 2 on the horizon and 1 above or below. Pwede mo siya makita dalawa sa horizon, sa sides, and then isa pa taas or isa pa baba. So it goes, the lines go toward all 3 points, wherein it is best for drawing tall building or dramatic angles. So that's it for my report. Next reporter.
Hi everyone, especially to you, Ma'am Pinky. Today, I'm going to talk about the types of shading. So, shading is the method of representing light, shadow, and depth in drawings. Shading is how we make our drawings look more realistic by showing light and shadow. There are different ways to do shading, and here are the main types. First is hatching, a technique that uses parallel lines drawn closely or widely spaced. This is when you draw a lot of straight lines all going the same direction. The closer the lines to each other, the darker it looks. Second is cross-hatching, overlapping line drawn in different directions. This is just like a hatching, but you add more lines going to opposite direction, like a crisscross. This makes the shadow even darker. Third is stippling, shading using a tiny dots. Instead of lines, you use dots here. The more dots you put, the darker it looks. So it takes a bit of patience, but it looks cool. Next is blending, smooth transitions of tones by smudging or softening marks. This is when you shade smoothly by rubbing your pencil marks to make it look soft. You can use your finger, tissue, or any other blending tool. Contour shading, shading that follows the shape or curve of the object. So this one follows the shape of the object. Instead of straight lines, you curve your line around the object, which it looks round or 3D, like shading on a ball or a face. The last is scribbling or scumbling, heading with random scribbles. You make a small random circles or scribbles. It's a fun way to shade and gives you drawing some texture. In conclusion, shading techniques give light and depth to drawing. So to conclude, shading is very important because it makes our drawings looks real and 3D. So those are the types of shading: hatching, cross-hatching, stippling, blending, scumbling, and contour shading. Each one is useful and you can mix them together to make your art look even cooler. So that's all about for my topic.
Good day everyone. I'm Dane Justin Falco Santos from Group 4 and my topic is all about lettering. So, lettering is the art of drawing and designing letters with style and creativity. So unlike regular handwriting, which is written quickly, lettering focuses on carefully shaping each letter to make it decorative, artistic, and visually appealing. It is often used in posters, logos, signs, and artworks to express ideas in an attractive way. So, lettering is different from ordinary handwriting. When you write normally, you focus on speed and readability. But in lettering, you take your time to design each letter with style, creativity, and decoration. So, every stroke is intentional, almost like drawing instead of writing. We have three types of lettering. So, we have the freehand lettering, mechanical lettering, and modern lettering. So, number one is freehand lettering. So, this is when letters are drawn completely by hand without relying on tools like rulers or pencils. So, the artist carefully designs each letter, which makes it unique and creative. So, it often shows the personal style of the person writing. So, example is hand-drawn posters, chalkboard menus, or mga style notes. So, number two, we have the mechanical lettering. So, this type of lettering uses instruments or tools such as rulers, compasses, pencils, or T-squares to make the letters neat and uniform, and also precise. So, unlike freehand lettering, the focus here is on accuracy and consistency rather than personal style. So, example is the technical drawings, engineering designs, or yung mga blueprints. So, number three, we have the modern lettering. So, this involves creating letter designs with the help of digital tools or software like Photoshop, Illustrator, Canva, or Word. It allows artists and designers to easily adjust colors, shapes, and tiles, making lettering more versatile and professional looking. So, the example is yung mga logos, social media graphics, and digital posters. So, overall, freehand is creative and personal, like by hand. Then, the mechanical is precise and uniform with tools. Modern naman is digital and stylish. So, here with software.